Hey guys, for today's video we're heading over to the Peak District. We're going to go to a few different places, and I think either Padley Gorge or a sunset over Higger Tor are likely to be the photos we take. Padley Gorge is fantastic. There's a lot of green moss around on the trees and rocks there, which gives it a fairy tale feel. So that's up there as the most likely suspect. And failing that, we will be over at Higger Tor, which has a nice rocky outcrop that overlooks quite a fantastic landscape actually at sunset. So one of those is about to appear on screen. Well, here we are again on our way out in the sunshine on a motorbike. Today we're heading out for an interesting trip. We're going to go about an hour or so to the Peak District. We're going to do a little circular loop that walks across Carl's Walk, and we're going to head down to Toad's Mouth. Toad's Mouth is a small waterfall by the road. We'll then cross over and have a walk down Padley Gorge, which is a pretty place. We're going to go all the way down there to Grindleford, and then we're going to turn around and walk all the way back up Padley Gorge again, and then Owler Mother Cap, and then we may take in another couple of spots on the route as well before we walk back up to Higger Tor, back to the bike, get all our camping gear, hop into some trees, pitch a hammock, and sleep there for the night. Today I am fully loaded up with kit, so both panniers are full, top box is full. I've got a roll bag as well behind me, so it's a busy bike today. So today we're on the Honda VFR 800. I love this bike. I always tell you how much I love this bike, but I still love this bike. The other bike, the Honda DeVille, I could have brought that quite easily today if it wasn't for all the luggage we're taking. That's the only reason I'm on the VFR today, or I would have taken the DeVille this time. These roads suit the DeVille quite nicely, and it's nice and comfortable, the DeVille, but a bit slower, a lot slower. We're only about 5 miles from our destination now, so we'll just enjoy a bit of scenery, and we'll soon be there. Okay, so we've just set up at our first spot, which is Toad's Mouth. It's just inside the Longshore Estate. We've walked over from Higger Tor over Carl's Walk, which was quite nice, and just dropped down here to this first little waterfall. We'll take a quick shot of this, and then we'll head on down Padley Gorge. But it's a lovely place. Really enjoying this so far. Okay, so we're just going to head down this path. To our left here you can see the Longshore Estate by a nice little brook, which will lead us all the way down through Padley Gorge to Grindleford. Beautiful place here, a really nice walk. Well, this is a great spot. All these gnarly old trees with the sun just glinting through them, and then just down on the left hand side you've got the river flowing next to us. Beautiful place, recommend this one. So equipment for today's shot: Canon R5, 15-35 2.8 RF lens, and a tripod. And that's the lot. Okay, so the shot in question was a landscape shot, which was at quite a high aperture number. So we were up at f11. That gives us nice sun-star effects on bright lights, and it also means you have a crisp depth of field, which means that the things at the front of the picture and the back of the picture are nice and clear and in focus. Because the light was good, our ISO was down low. We were at 100, which is where I like to sit. We did play with 50 a little bit, but it wasn't bright enough to tolerate that. With a high aperture number, i.e. a narrow aperture, and a low ISO number, sensitivity to light, you can only go so far with shutter speed. This was taken right down at 1/30th of a second. Now I could get away with that handheld because I had the stabilizer on,
The 15 to 35 2.8 lens has incredible stabilization capabilities. The lens has stabilization that communicates with the body's stabilization as well, and really does increase the effect of handheld shots being stabilized. I can do 1 or 2 seconds handheld without any loss of sharpness. We were at 15mm, and in terms of other values, we were using electronic shutter, and we were on none for subject to detect. We were not shooting RAW and JPEG, we were shooting just JPEG. That was another experiment. I regularly experiment with RAW and JPEG to make sure I'm still comfortable. JPEG is the right tool for me, and it is still. We were on single shot shooting, we weren't doing bursts, and that's it. So we took some lovely pictures on the day. That tree was fantastic with the spiral at the top. That was at Padley Gorge. And the rock formations were brilliant across the board. Mother Cap was particularly good. The sunset gave us some fantastic views across the moorland of the peaks, and that was quite special. And as the sun set, we got some nice shots with the rocks in front of it as well. This shot was a shooting star getting captured on a 30-second exposure. I've not had many of those before, so pleased with that. And the next day we went up to Middle Black Clough to take some pictures of the waterfall. Okay, so this is the picture we chose. It really was a tough selection this time because there were so many really good pictures we could have chosen from. But I like this one because of all the gnarly looking trees, the shadows cast with this low-lying sun, and the greenery of the moss. So it's already a great picture, and it's not going to take a lot to make this really pop either. So it's going to be quite a light touch in terms of editing. This wasn't near sunset, I must add. It was just due to the density of the trees, it made it look a lot darker than it was. But Padley Gorge is a great place. If you haven't been there, I would recommend it. This green moss is on the trees and the rocks, and it all looks really impressive. But anyway, to the edit. So first thing we'll do, we'll duplicate this and create a new layer. We'll modify that layer so we can roll back any changes if we want to. So I'm going to start with shadows and highlights. So I'm going to drop those both down to 0 and then just bump them up until I see sort of value that I like. I'm going to go quite bright on this because of what I'm going to do with the vibrance and saturation in a minute. I'll pull the sun down a little bit to get the sun star showing. So this picture was taken with the f11 aperture, which is why you get these spikes around the sun, which is cool. I'm going to jump straight in there with image adjustments, vibrance and saturation. And the vibrance I'm going to punch up quite high. So that's plus 65 on the vibrance. Saturation, plus 14 on that. So this is what I'm looking for in an image like this. Really bright green colours, and that moss showing through very well. Framing it's tricky. So I don't want a dead patch of sky. I don't want to lose the shadows here. And obviously all of this is good stuff too. So I'm going to try a narrow crop. So this is more of a distraction, this tree on the right hand side, so I can pull that out. And I might pull the left in a little bit as well, just to see if we can tidy things a little bit. What happens if we pull the right the way in? Oh, that might be quite nice actually. Maybe we'll lose a bit of the shadows on the floor. See what that looks like. Yeah, I quite like that. Okay, I'm going to go to curves, Control M for curves, and just pull up the bottom half a little bit. I'm just trying to see a little bit more of the detail in the background here. Okay, that's quite nice. And I think I want to get rid of the whiteness in the skies. What about if we chopped it? Yeah, I don't mind that. Okay, the rock in the foreground's in the shade, and that's okay, but I'd like to brighten it a bit. So I'm going to use the dodge tool, and about 190 pixels is okay, shadows is good, and exposure, make that about 20%. And let's see if we can just brighten this up a little bit. Okay, to make these shadows stand out a little bit more, I'm going to go to Levels, Control L, and I'm going to move the black point up a little bit. And that's going to help that. I like that. So I'm just going to create another layer. And I'm going to go Image, Adjustments, and then Selective Color. And I'm just going to tweak the colors a little bit here. Okay, so if we look at the before and then the after. So it's just a bit bolder with a few colors. In terms of the sliders, it is just a case of moving them to your taste. What we're left with now is quite a cool image, but the darks are a bit too dark. So I'm going to go back to shadows and highlights again. And I'm just going to see if we can bump up the shadows a little bit. Okay, I think that will work. We have an artifact. This looks like it might be a lens flare, so we'll just deal with that. We'll use a small clone stamp tool. So we're at 43 pixels. And I'm just going to pick apart this rock that's near it. And I'm just going to get rid of that. And I'll repeat that for the other bits. Okay, so we'll have a look at a quick Orton effect. So if you didn't watch the video at Lumsdale Waterfall, that's where I introduced the Orton effect. So essentially you duplicate your image and then you create a blur, a big blur. So we'll use a Gaussian blur for this and we'll go big. So 45, I'm on a 45 megapixel sensor, rule of thumb. Generally, you can use the number of pixels to figure the size of your Gaussian blur. And then we'll make that a screen layer and change the fill to make sure it's not too otherworldly. We'll bring out some of that magical fairy-esque content. So that's the old image, that's the maximum effect. We want somewhere in between. Okay, I'm going to go quite high with it. So I'm at 78%, which is really quite high for that effect. I'm just going to lose a little bit of the top corner because I don't like how much dead space there is there. And I think I'm generally happy with that. That's brought up the darks quite a bit as well. So we'll merge all those layers now. I'm happy with that. So we've got a single image now. And we'll go Tool, Sharpen, Unsharp Mask. Just going to boost that a little bit, just to make things a bit crisper. It looks pretty good at zoom. Quite happy with that. Tweak the contrast a little bit. If we increase the contrast, I think that's better. Before, after. I think that might be it. Let me just give it a few minutes. I'll come back to it, see if I still like it. Okay, looking at the image again, I do like it. I think I will leave it exactly as it is and call that finished. That's quite nice, isn't it? Fairytale Glen. That's Padley Gorge. So I hope you enjoyed that, guys. We did about 12 miles over the 2 days and saw some fantastic things, and Padley Gorge really is well worth a visit. If you like what you've seen, please do subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.